Hey guys, what's up? It's Solo, and today we are talking about Destiny 2. And as you see in the background, I did decide to hop on and play Destiny 2 for the first time in forever. Firstly, let's talk about the setting for the second episode of Destiny 2. That setting is very much a metal, like, demon slash monster hunter, kind of a Van Helsing vibe. And in this episode, we're going to be going after Fickrel, who, if you guys don't know, originated from the Prison of Elders. That's a key point we got to keep in mind. And was made by Crow as Aldrin Zov, and now Crow is hunting him down, and he now has the Echo of Command, I want to say. And so, yeah, and it looks sick. A lot of the parts that they showed off today look sick. I don't know how I feel about Onslaught being kind of the main part of Act 1, but we'll have to see how that adds up with the story and everything else. And they also talked about different stuff from Codename Frontiers, even showing us concept art of the new destination. So, with that being said, let's start off with the theme for, of course, Episode 2 Revenant. All right, so episode 2, act 1 of Revenant is going to be debuting on the 8th of October, which is about 6 days away from me uploading this YouTube video. It's going to be about Fickrel, the Fanatic. If you guys don't know, he's from Forsaken. He is the Scorn Baron. I think he's the only Scorn Baron left alive from the 6 or 7, I believe, from Forsaken. But he now has control of the Echo of, I want to say, Command, they called it. And he's trying to further progress the Scorn into being an actual formidable faction. And that's where we take place now, where he's trying to take more Elixni to make more undead Elixni, aka Scorn. And yeah, the whole point is we're trying to, of course, stop him and foil his plans while working with, of course, Ido and Misrax with House of Light. That being said, we are going to talk about the next part that they show off, which is going to be the tonics and the different tonics that you can make that will boost different parts of your gameplay. So let's take a look at that. Alright, so with this new episode, we're going to be getting what are called tonics. There are two types. There is enriching tonics, and then there is volatile tonics. Volatile tonics are going to be boosting different artifact perks, so different kind of like origin traits and different perks from the artifact itself. And they, of course, are listed on the actual like tonics, and it will tell you exactly what it's going to be doing. So, for example, this one says refined tonic of stasis crystallization, and says tonic which grants the following effects for 60 minutes. Shattering a stasis crystal grants you a small amount of class ability energy, boosted artifact perks. Boost stasis weapon final blows after activating your class ability. Spawn a stasis shard. Hail the storm. Boost. Shattering frozen targets and stasis crystals deals increased damage. So stuff like that is going to be, of course, your refined tonics for the volatile side. And it's a lot of that based on the rarity. It's going to be doing more or less. I'm guessing greens are going to be doing like maybe one or like even a basic like upgrade to damage or like different things when it comes to what class you're using. And then I'm guessing blue will take one artifact perk. And then of course purple is gonna or sorry, legendary is gonna take of course two artifact perks and also give you that base bonus. That's just my prediction for them. They didn't really show off blue and green. They only showed off a few of the legendary ones, so we'll have to wait and see. Now let's get on over to the other side of this. Alright, so the next part is going to be the enriching tonics. Now, the enriching tonics are going to be your loot reward like boosters. So if you're going for a certain loot reward, whether it be armor or weapons, this is where you're going to want to go. They talk about how you can attune yourself kind of like into the light to a weapon for the season. And currently the seasonal weapons will not be craftable, so you're going to be looking for enhanced perks, which they're going to be able to do. Other than that, we don't have specifics on what like which each one does. We know that there's exotic ones. There's also other different types of ones in there. But as far as we know, all we know is that it can attune you to a certain weapon and that it can give you better rolls for enhanced perks. That's about all we really know. Now, as we're talking about this, of course, we're probably going to be crafting these, which I wanted to give you guys a little look at what they, I'm guessing, are having as our ingredients list, making it a little bit more challenging, I suppose, to actually make these tonics. Let me pull up a little screenshot here for you guys. Alright, so taking a closer look at this picture on your guys' screen, it looks like there's going to be one common, two uncommons, four rares, and two legendary reagents that you're going to be using to make these tonics. I'm wondering how that's going to work with there being an exotic tonics like that you can make. So I'm wondering if it's just going to take more legendary stuff or just more stuff in general. But looks like in total we're going to be going into this with about 9 different ingredients. So keep that in mind that there's probably going to be quite a bit of a grind to actually get these together and make these potions. And hopefully it's not like a boring one. Hopefully we just get it naturally from just playing the actual episode. But we'll have to see as time goes forward. That being said, the background gameplay is kind of fitting because the seasonal activity for at least Act 1 is going to be Onslaught. Yeah, so we have Onslaught on Widow's Court. If you guys don't know, that's a PvP map, and they have a few upgrades. I believe they have changed the tripwires now to have a like stasis effect to them, and the higher tiers do other things. I believe there's two new um, encampments that you can make, or like upgrades you can make. One's like a turret, the other one is like a mortar. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how those pan out. Am I excited to see more Onslaught? Of course, just because Onslaught is a good game mode. That being said, I am not sure how I feel about the fact that it is taking over as the like quote unquote seasonal activity for Act 1. I don't know, it's just a weird thing to me just because it's like people are telling you, hey, we're tired of doing the same things, and then you just give us a like one new map, two new and like two new things we can put on our ADU, and that's like where we're at. So yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out and how it plays out with the story. We did also get a look at the new exotic grenade launcher. It's going to be a primary ammo grenade launcher, kind of like Mountaintop. But this one, it looks like if you get it, I think it's like 50 to 75% full, and you do the special reload, it will drop a special ammo brick, and then 100% the grenade launcher is going to drop a heavy ammo brick, so you can basically play a support build in your games. Now, that being said, there are some other stuff, but they didn't really spoil too much. But I do want to bring attention to one of the things that was said during the live stream when they were talking about activities for Act 2 of Revenant. And I just want you guys to go take a look at what they said about that.
Add in arriving with Act 2, mind you, of Revenant, and I'm going to read this to make sure I get it right, a inspired from a fan favorite activity from Destiny's past. We're going to go ahead and bring back an activity, but we're not going to tell you anything outside of that. So check.
Yeah, so after them saying that, a lot of people's first reaction is going to be, of course, oh, an activity from Destiny's past. Well, what could they be bringing into Revenant that would make sense? And the biggest thing that you can think of that would make sense and actually play into Fickrel as a character is Prison of Elders. Prison of Elders, if you guys don't know, started out as a round-based match-made game mode that you could play in Destiny 1, and a lot of people played it just for the fact that it dropped a lot of cool rewards. And then after a while in Destiny 1, it ended up basically falling behind until they revamped it with Rise of Iron to become Challenge of the Elders, basically becoming a more focused version and a harder version of Prison of the Elders. And honestly, it was really great. There's 3 rounds each, like in between each round, You do little like basically like mini games where you're doing like the splinter cells and all that dumb shit where you're running around trying to do everything. Kind of like how you do it in Onslaught, but this one was more or less more focused on like you could get a lot of bosses out of there, and like there was a lot of things that were different. That's where like the whole meme of bullet sponge also came from, at least for me, because bullet sponges in Destiny for me started with there was a cabal in Challenge of the Elders that was literally like it felt like he had a million health and it just took forever to take him down. But a lot of people speculate that Prison of Elders could be the thing coming back just for the fact that it is, well, a very fitting thing for not only Crow but also Fickrel to go back to the Prison of Elders and basically either rebuild it or make it reoperable to the point where Guardians are going to be able to use it again. And who knows, maybe it'll be that, or maybe it'll be something silly that they just pull out of thin air. Who knows? But let's move on to the next thing. Let's talk about the seasonal artifact, shall we? Alright, so this is the brand new artifact. It is called Slayer Baron Apothecary Satchel. That is a long name. But it has itself divided into, I believe they said 3 types, which is your kind of like barrier or champion mods, which is going to be your first slot. Your 3 slots are basically your mods that you can switch in and out, or, sorry, not mods, but your like abilities that you can switch in and out depending on what build you're going for, and then your final one are going to be your like pinnacle, well, your stuff that you use for pinnacles, I should say. And it's going to be like the main thing. Now, the big thing we got to watch out for is this is going to be very heavily stasis focused. They already said that this episode is going to be very heavy on stasis. So keep that in mind that a lot of these are going to be stasis perks. Not all of them, but most of them will have something to do with stasis along the line. But honestly, it does not look bad for what it is currently. So it looks pretty good. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next segment. So the next segment is about this screenshot right here. If you guys don't know what these are a vehicle known as a skimmer. It's a thing I believe that was introduced during the Guardian games. They're the things that the guys from Lightfall, I can't remember their names, saved my life, but they ride these around everywhere and they look super fun, and they are super fun and let you basically kind of like skateboard slash surf everywhere. And so with Revenant, they're bringing in a new one called the Zerf board. And no, I'm not kidding you. It is called the Zerf board. It is Zer and then F board. Zerf board. And the way you're going to earn this is by getting, I believe, 97 strange coins. And you can buy it from Zer on the weekend. And yeah, I'm going to start grinding my strange coins because it looks awesome. It does take after shaders, so that's going to be cool. And honestly, it's really, really sick looking. I just figured I'd bring this up because I thought it was really funny that they're having fun with a thing called the Zerf board. So, yeah, it was pretty funny segment. All right, next up is a very basic thing. So Twitch Rivals is doing their thing again with the launch of Vesper's Host, I believe it's called, which is a new dungeon in Revenant that is going to be releasing, I believe, a few days after Revenant comes out, or like a week or so. I'm not exactly sure on the release date, but this is the jacket you're going to get by completing Revenant, I'm guessing, within the first week, like they do with all dungeons. Same with the bracelet. And they say that the top 3 teams are going to get them personalized to their gamer tags, which I think is pretty cool. And honestly, again, I'm on the side of if they're going to do it for a dungeon team, at least they're not doing belts and they're doing something like this. That's my own personal opinion. But yeah, pretty cool. Dungeon, we still have no idea about like most of the mechanics or anything about it. So yeah, everybody's going in blind. All right, to the next segment. All right, so the next segment is, of course, about Festival of the Lost. They didn't give us any more details, but they did show us, of course, these looks at the different armor sets. And to be honest, it's pretty funny how like these came about because it's like, yeah, this is the first time they let each class vote like specifically on which set they wanted. So the hunters, of course, went with an evil wizard set. Looks pretty cool, looks pretty badass, of course. Then the warlocks, they too also went for the bad set. And honestly, this also looks sick. I love how both of these sets look. But, of course, me being a Titan main, how does the Titan set look? And to be honest, I'm excited for it. That's right. The only one out of the three to pick the good set was the Titans themselves. We're going to be getting this sick looking armor set, and honestly, I'm kind of glad because I'm pretty sure the one for the evil Titans was honestly not great from what I remember. And that's why a lot of people were picking good Titan for their armor set rather than the bad one, because also it looks fun. It looks great. I love how all these look, and honestly I'm excited for Festival of the Lost when it does arrive. I'm hoping they've revamped it from the last time, but again, there's always a chance that Bungie have not touched it since the last time, so we'll have to wait and see. All right, so now we're going to move into them talking about the story for Codename Apollo. And honestly, it sounds pretty fun. So they explained it as the destination is going to be a Metroidvania type location, which is very much a definite change up for Bungie slash Destiny as a whole. That being said, this is a concept art on the screen right now of the new destination, and honestly, it looks pretty sick. Now, based on this, I have high doubts that it's going to be somewhere like, I don't know, like Jupiter or some planet we haven't seen in the Sol system. I have like suspicions that maybe it'll be just outside the Sol system, or it'll be some random moon, kind of like Europa, that we just happen to go to and find this species on. But if I had to place any bets, I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere outside the Sol system, if only just like right outside the Sol system. That being said, this concept art looks sick. The people who are running like the whole like seance here, or whatever you want to call it, looks pretty cool. And then we have another piece of concept art as well. All right, here's the second piece of concept art. Now, with all this being said and the way that these are laid out, I definitely don't think, like I said, I don't think this is Jupiter. Mostly just due to the fact that I feel like with Jupiter, we'd probably see a lot of things that we've seen before, especially if people are right and Oryx landed in Jupiter. And even then, I don't think we go to Jupiter or anywhere else until we figure out what's going on in Heresy. And so I think this is going to be some sort of like moon or something that's like offset from everything else, just based on the structures. But it looks sick. They are talking about the exploration factor where you're going to be able to go where you want and like do things that are going to meet up to like an end point, or like not like linear end point, but basically all of them will add up to an actual conclusion to what you're playing in that expansion, and then keep the story going forward. Now, with that being said, there are, of course, takebacks to this, which is the whole getting 2 expansions a year, which we had with, of course, Curse of Osiris and Warmind, but also we are going back to, a weird way of doing seasons again. And again, I don't know how I feel about that stuff, but there is more stuff to actually talk about when it comes to Frontiers. And a lot of this is actually really interesting. So let's talk about it. All right, so the last part of this is going to be about armor and, of course, weapons. Now, let's get into this because there is a blog post that I'm going to talk to you guys about. And in the background is actually a screen grab from that blog post where it's basically showing you guys what the new screen may look like. It, of course, is going to change because I don't think they're going to have a bunch of pink marks everywhere. But it says the problem. In years since the major last release, Shadowkeep's Armor 2.0, Armor has settled into a relatively static part of the reward story. Once you have the right stat rolls, there is very little else to look forward to. The intricate balance of stat rolls has a lock-in effect that makes it hard to want to swap anything out anyway. For armor to be exciting again, it needs unique properties, and stats need to be easier to manage without so much need for fine tuning. The solution: reworked stat mechanics. Stats on armor will be changing in Codename Frontiers in order to make them more player friendly. First major change is the mechanics of stats themselves. Stats will no longer be tiered every 10 points. Every point in a stat will provide benefit. This change is intended to reduce the lock-in effect that happens when a fine-tuned combination of stat values make it impossible to switch out any single armor piece. Stat effects will be capped at 200 within the range from 101 to 200, providing an additional powerful effect building on the base effect. This change is intended to support deeper investment in a smaller number of stats and spikier stat distributions on armor with fewer secondary dump stats. In addition to the above changes, the distribution of stats on armor will also be changing. Legendary armors will have a stat archetype, which means the primary and secondary stat types, with a third stat being a free roll. The values of these stats should overall be spikier, leading to fewer points in dump stats. So basically, the main and secondary stats are going to be more prominent, and then the third one's just going to be random. The class slot will have full stat distributions on par with other slots. So this is going to be the first time since I think Destiny 1 class items will actually have stat values. That's wild. So yeah, in this you're going to see the screenshot afterward that says Brawler, which in this one Brawler means strength and discipline, which of course makes sense because brawlers are going to need to be strength and, well, discipline to make it a lot better. Your strength, of course, being your main stat, discipline being secondary, and of course intellect being the smallest of them. And then if you look, it says set bonus right underneath all the stuff with like brawler and everything else. We'll get to that in a second. So it says the result will be a smaller number of unique stats on any piece of armor, with larger contributions to these stats and every stat point providing a benefit. These changes should ultimately make a piece of armor more interesting and easier to evaluate. New stats. Some stats will be changing with 3 goals in mind: improve specific weak stats that offer little value, reduce or eliminate mandatory must-have stats. So I think resilience is probably going to get blasted into the atmosphere. And then 3, overall, improve understandability of stats and their effect. Yep. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. So these changes are still under active development, but here's a few examples of work in progress designs, which will eventually include most or all of the current stats found on armor. Discipline from 1 to 100 provides increasing grenade cooldown reduction, which we knew. That's the normal thing that it does. From 101 to 200 provides an increasing chance to gain a bonus grenade charge whenever your grenade becomes available. Now, they talk about this with strength here in a second, and I just want to think about that. So yeah, that's interesting. So discipline is being renamed to grenade to improve readability. So instead of discipline, you're going to get grenade stat, and grenade stat's going to improve your grenade reload. Although I think it'd be better to rename it to grenade cooldown or something like that. Something where it's like grenade, like more adept to being like, oh, hey, this is for cooldown reduction, not like grenade damage or something. You know, just my opinion on that. That being said, strength from 1 to 100 provides increasing melee cooldown. And then from 101 to 200 provides increasing chance to gain a bonus melee charge whenever your powered melee becomes available. See, and the interesting part about this is I want to know how this works with like things that give you extra melee charges. Because if I can stack like, oh, what is it? No, it's not stasis, it's strand, where you can have 3 melees. If I can stack a 4th one, that's going to be nuts. but more than likely it's not going to stack. Or if it does stack, that's just ridiculous. Then special ammo, which this is interesting. I don't think I've ever seen. So special ammo is going to be a new one apparently. So from 1 to 100 increases the rate at which special ammo bricks drop from final blows, and then 101 to 200 providing an increasing chance that a double-sized brick will drop. So that has to be a new stat that they're adding as special ammo, which makes me wonder if they're going to add a heavy ammo one as well. Who knows? It's only up to time whether or not we actually get the answer to that. Set bonuses. So this is what I was talking about. The second major change to armor is introduction of set bonuses. Think of them like an origin trait for armor. They'll represent the theme of the armor and allow you to reflect a fantasy in the way that you build, the way that your build plays. Sorry. Set bonuses are perks granted when you equip 2 and 4 pieces of armor from the same set. This allows you to either commit to 2 bonuses from the same set or find combinations that fit your unique needs. We're keeping both approaches in mind as they take shape and are excited to see what each Guardian chooses to do with these new tools. Note that there is no bonus for 5 pieces. Most builds are expected to include a piece of exotic armor. That's good because that means people are not going to be upset if there's a 5-1, right? Because there's not going to be. And I know a lot of people love, well, exotic armor pieces, so that's great that they're doing only 2 and 4, not 5, because then it kind of defeats the purpose. And so yeah, as you see, perks will consist of other existing mods or newly designed. We've included a few examples below to represent the general direction we'd like to go with this. So they have a little board, and it has Tex Mechanica, Nonstop Aggression, Demolitions Expert, and Vanguard Operative. So with Tex Mechanica, if you have 2 pieces, while shooting from the hip, you have increased movement speed and weapon handling. Effect increases when you score hits. That's neat. And then with 4 pieces, Tex Mechanica weapons have increased range and accuracy when hip fired. Like, I'm honestly shocked how much Bungie is leaning into this. Like, hey, set bonuses with certain weapons. Like, you can basically be like, oh, hey, I'm going to use this weapon that I got from, like, say, like, Vanguard or whatever, and it's going to have, like, bonuses upon bonuses, plus you can build your stats into it. Honestly, I think Bungie is doing a really great thing here and making armor actually matter a lot more rather than just, hey, guys, I'm going to dump and get 300s and then I'm done, right? So I'm glad that they're changing it rather than just letting it stay the same. So non-stop aggression, 2 pieces are going to be final blows. Will with freshly reloaded weapons heal you. That's nuts. And then 4 pieces damaging a target with a shotgun or fusion rifle increases the damage it takes from those weapons for a short time. Oh man, that means shotgun stuffing's gonna become like a thing in like PvP unless like they change how it works in PvP. Because if you're like healing after reloading and then they're taking extra damage, people are gonna literally build shotgun stuffing builds, which is gonna be hilarious for a little bit, and then people are gonna get upset about it. But it's still pretty cool to think that people are gonna have that freedom of doing that. Then there's Demolition Expert with 2 pieces, direct hits with explosion weapons, temporarily increase their reload speed, nice. Repeated direct hits with explosive weapons temporarily increase grenade ability damage. Oh, that's nuts. So basically it's just like grenade launcher, grenade. Like, you could literally have Fighting Line or the new one that's coming out. I don't remember what they called it. And then you could have a secondary grenade launcher and then a heavy grenade launcher and just go to town. Like, you can have a full grenade launcher build and then throw your grenade and it's going to absolutely shred especially the Titan like Thunder Grenade or like a grenade that scales in damage. That's gonna be nuts. Vanguard Operative, 2 pieces activating your grenade gives you and nearby allies damage resistance against combatants. And then for defeating champions with a finisher grants special ammo for you and your fire team. I think this will be great if you use it alongside the new grenade launcher. So they have a few FAQs about it. So what happens to my old armor? Old legendary armor will be changed little as possible, but the change to stat mechanics and types are global changes. Old armor pieces will have their stat types, but not their values, changed around. When possible, these changes will be most similar. Will be to the most similar stat, but with some stats being fundamentally reworked, this won't be always possible. So basically, when they change the stats, your armor is probably going to change. They're going to try not to hit the old armor as much, but they are going to try to bring it so then you can actually build fun builds and not have to sit there and be like, okay, I have 100 in, resilience, I have 100 in strength, I have 100 in discipline or something like that. Instead, you're going to be more or less focusing on, okay, I have this armor set that's going to give me, like more melee damage, and then I'm going to have knockout and all this other stuff, and you're going to be doing a lot of damage. And I hope they keep it like this, where they want you to make really broken builds. So yeah, and then they said exotic armor. Updating the exotic armor pursuit is on a roadmap, but won't be a part of the initial update that's focusing on legendary armor. So to make sure that exotics are and their build defining perks remain a compelling option, we are working out a design that will allow players to update their exotic armor to bring their stat bonuses in line with the changes to legendary armor. The exotic class items introduced in the final shape are a special case, even though legendary class items will be gaining full random stats with this update. We do not wish to add additional randomness to the exotic class item chase. Instead, we'll be providing a method for players to update their existing exotic class items with additional stats that they're choosing to bring them in line with the stat contribution of the new legendary class items. More details on a longer term plans for exotic armor coming as soon as we nail them down. So exotics are still very much up in the air at this point, which I do understand, because you do an entire overhaul for one, you're going to have to, over time also adjust the other one to be where it's at, and I get that. And then they say, my vault is full. Where am I supposed to store all of this new armor? We know that the vault pressure is a real problem to players, even with the recent increases in vault space. Outside of adding more space, an option, real solutions that enable long-term storage of desirable rules are really hard problems. But those are problems we are penciling into our roadmap or around next year's second expansion, codenamed Behemoth. We'll share more details when we have a clearer direction and for how we think we can solve this one. So honestly, at that point, with some of the older like class items, for sure, I think I'm very much in the the small majority of it. But I definitely think that with those, I think you can get rid of a lot of the old armor sets, unless you want to keep them for fashion, of course. But other than that, I think with all this, I'm excited for Revenant to come out. I'm also excited for the next year of Destiny. I was kind of down, and now I'm kind of in that weird mix of I'm excited for it, but also cautious. So I'll just have to see how things are going. And I'm kind of glad they explained the armor a little bit more. But guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. And don't forget to subscribe, turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.